Jacob is with us here live from Poland. Appreciate you showing up, Jacob. And he says, my question is, who should be John Cena's last opponent, and whether instead of a PLE, his last match should be on a Saturday night's main event so all of America can give him a farewell. I don't know that he was supposed to reveal this, but the other John Cena, his dad, did an interview with a Boston news station that kind of spilled the beans last week, where he said his final appearance is going to be at TD Garden in December, and it'll be a Saturday night's main event. Now, we don't know if that's fake news or false information, but that's the report from John Cena's dad, and it does make us believe, and I actually buy into this. If I'm NBC, if I'm Peacock, if I'm NBC Universal, I want that opportunity on broadcast television and my app, so I get why they would want to do it there. I think it makes a ton of sense to let more people see it. But if they're doing it in Boston, who do you hope the last opponent is going to be this December for John Cena?
Wow. You know, I don't know if it's Cody, Roman. You know, to get Cena's last opponent, that's I mean, you got one of the biggest stars. You have to have somebody that's equal to Cena, and there aren't but just a handful of people in the world that are equal to Cena. You know, if it's Brock, I don't know who it'd be. I mean,
it could be The Rock. It could be Cena.
I'm sorry, The Rock. Yeah, of course. Completely. You know, Rock's so big. You know, if you forget, could be The Rock.
I mean, if you really want to make a big splash, the biggest possible splash for Saturday night's main event for NBC, for Peacock, I mean, The Rock and John Cena makes sense, but at that point, I mean, neither one of those guys are going to be on the show the following week. So the old way of thinking in wrestling is to say, well, you need to sort of pass the torch. And that makes me think it might not even be a guy like CM Punk. It probably does need to be someone like Cody. Or do you go younger and you say, hey, it's Braun Breaker, it's Dominic Mysterio, it's one of those guys. And there's plenty of time to get there and figure out how we're going to get there. But do you think it is one last time, him and Rock? Do you think it's a rematch from WrestleMania with Cody, or do you think he'll pass the torch to a younger star?
Somebody's going to quote this and take this completely out of context, and I know it before I say it. I wouldn't be surprised for Cena to choose somebody that is not in the main event picture right now and do the job, because that's John Cena. John Cena is the most unselfish guy in the freaking world. And he loves this business. He's the most respectful guy I've nearly ever met in my life. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him choose somebody that he knows is going to be a star, give him the rub, and go out on his shield.
Can you imagine, though? I mean, if it was a guy like Braun Breaker, like Braun's next several years of his career are walking around with the feather in his cap of, I'm the guy who retired John Cena, right?
That's right. Yeah. Be this very same thing that Undertaker did for Brock.
Yes.
You know, the guys
at that point, you could argue Brock didn't need it, but
correct.
Totally leveling Braun up where you would think, hey, he beat John Cena in his last match. If that's December,
right.
And he fucks around and wins the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
That's a bona fide main eventer.
Yeah. That's Vince's mindset too, you know, and I'm saying Vince's mindset, it's the old mindset, you know, that generally, you know, Triple H is, you know, pretty much has the same type mindset. You know, you did the same thing with Baron Corbin and Kurt Angle. And so, you know, that's kind of a time. I don't care if it's a time-honored tradition. It's the time-honored best way to do business, because you're creating the next star. And as unselfish as John Cena is, I would not be surprised to see that happen.
We're still taking these questions here live. Keep them coming. We do want to hit one here from, oh, wait, you know what? Blue Meanie's with us, and he says, does John remember the wrestler's court for Tess that Tess didn't even realize was about him until halfway through? I got to hear this story.
I don't remember the whole time. I remember Tess not realizing it was about him. I can't remember what he was taking to court for. You know, Tess was a good guy, but man, he could not understand things at times. It's a nice Meanie will understand that. But yes, yeah. Somebody was telling me about Tess the other day, and yes, I do remember it. Tess finally found out it was about him. I can't remember what it was for, but I do remember it very, very well.
John says, and I didn't know this, Global billed you as the cousin to Barry Windham. How did you feel about that? And did Barry or Blackjack Mulligan ever say anything? I didn't know that.
Oh, I hated it too. I absolutely hated it. Gary Hart did that. Global didn't do it. No, I don't want to correct John. John, you are correct to say that the Global did it. It was they did it because of Gary Hart. Gary Hart was doing commentary. I'm from Sweetwater, Texas. Legitimately grew up in Sweetwater, Texas, and lived at 1610 Haley Street in Sweetwater, Texas. Went to Sweetwater High School, so my picture's still there in the high school. But Barry Windham, Blackjack said he was from Sweetwater because it was a cool name. He's from somewhere around Austin or something like that. So when I first started in Global, Gary Hart didn't know me, had never met me. He just saw me in the ring, knew I was from Sweetwater, and he said, that's Barry Windham's cousin. And so it took off from there. I actually got booked a couple of times because people thought I was Barry Windham's cousin, which I always corrected everybody because I didn't want heat over, I didn't know Mulligan was a guy that could, punch a hole through a wall at that time either, but I didn't want heat over, claiming I was somebody's cousin when I wasn't. And so I hated it. I mean, absolutely hated it. And I went to Japan and people were asking me, are you Barry Windham's cousin? I always said no. And, but it lived on for quite a while. I met Barry and Barry had never heard of it, never brought it up. It was so far, beneath his radar that it didn't matter. So no, Windham nor Mulligan never said anything to me about it. I was horribly embarrassed by it.
We got another fun question here about Perry Saturn. Captain Marvel wants to know, what are your thoughts on Perry Saturn? Do you have any funny stories of Perry Saturn?
I went out with Perry a lot. He was fun. He went out with me and Ron a lot. Perry was a good dude. I know he's been off. I have no idea what he's doing now. Perry was a great dude. We had a lot of fun together. We had a lot of fun. We went out quite often. He went with me and Ron. Perry's, tough guy, good worker. I loved the mop gimmick. I thought it was hilarious. But no, I know no extra stories. Just he was a really good guy to both me and Ron.
I'm sure you saw the footage where there was a match on Sunday Night Heat where maybe things didn't go exactly how Mr. Saturn expected them to go. And well, he as you and Ron might have said, if they don't want to go to the tables, we'll bring the tables to them. Did you see that ass whooping?
I don't know if I saw it live. I remember it very well when it happened. Yes, but I don't think I saw it live. I think we heard about it. Of course you heard about it. He beat the shit out of a guy that was not cooperative or whatever it was. Shit happens, and people look at it now, and I don't know if people, I don't know what the feedback is now about it. If people say it was good, it was bad, it was indifferent, if Perry was wrong, if Perry was right. I have no idea what people say. We didn't give a shit about it. Sometimes those things happen and a guy's not cooperative. Perry thought he wasn't working with him. I guess, I think that's what it was. And, he beat him up,
We're talking about Mike Bell, if you've never seen the footage, and I would encourage you, if you've never seen that match, throw it in your Google machine. Perry Saturn and Mike Bell. It was from Sunday Night Heat. It may have been a dark match, but Lord have mercy, he beat the shit out of him. It was stiff. And speaking of stiff, today's episode is brought to you by Blue Chew. SaveWithConrad.com.
Yeah, I'm Justin Gruffin from Knoxville, Tennessee. What got me to Save with Conrad was the 83 Weeks podcast. I really wasn't thinking about getting rid of any debt. I just wanted to cash out some equity in the house to do remodeling. But I did both, so that was pretty awesome. Worked out great. We redid the foyer, built pantry space, and there was little odds and ends when I first bought the house that I wanted to take care of, and we were able to take care of it. So, yeah, paid off 2 cars and some credit card debt. So probably all in all, getting $30,000 in that. And then I got some $30,000 more equity out of the house, and still plenty of equity left over. So payment's good. I lowered my interest rate. I'm in a much better spot than I was. Super easy. Everybody was great. Very, very awesome people. Francis and Steve were great to work with. They're awesome. Made it for a very easy, seamless experience. I'd probably say all in all, probably $1,000 a month at least. I lowered my interest rate, especially the way the interest rates are right now, which is, that's amazing. I'm Justin Bruckman from Knoxville, Tennessee. I saved over $1,000 with SaveWithConrad.com, and I did a lot of renovations with that money as well.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. SaveWithConrad.com.